So here we go. Steven's in the box, and that beautiful RV-14 as he pulls to vertical.
In this episode, we're going to find out if I broke anything. So this was the 5-year, 500-hour inspection for this airplane. As far as I know, this is the hardest working RV-14 in the fleet because I think I'm the only guy doing competitive aerobatics in one. I'd love to hear if I'm not, but we're treating it as such, and we just did a more thorough inspection than you would typically do for an annual or condition inspection, only because I have now done 3 seasons of sportsman level aerobatics, so it's consistently seeing 6 Gs, and I want to have a hard look at it.
Let me see if I can get in there.
And I leaned on Andre here at Gen Aero to do things that I'm not experienced enough to do in terms of boroscoping the tail and looking really hard at everything to see if anything had broken or cracked, or even if there were any signs of stress from the aerobatics.
So what you can see is that due to the flexing, the paint started flaking there, and you can actually see a little bit of movement around the aft attach point.
I was glad to fit this last major project in before the inspection.
This is beautiful, but I cannot see a thing out there, so that is definitely why I would fly an approach in a situation like this. Completely blinded. Anyway, on the way to Hartzell, change to the steel shank prop.
I'm gonna hug my prop. This has been a great prop. This was a couple months before I took the airplane offline for that major inspection. I flew a training camp and the last contest of the season on the steel shank version of that prop. All right, thank you for once again hosting me out here.
Of course, happy to have you.
So let's talk about why people would choose one or the other.
Okay, so they're kind of 2 big factors. We offer a lot of different propellers because a lot of people have a lot of different missions, even for the same aircraft.
An upcoming episode will deep dive into everything I learned testing both.
Bittersweet for this to be the last flight with this prop. It's been an awesome prop, but it's the aluminum shank and it's light. So I've been chasing a heavy tail issue for the past, well, since paint really. Paint added 34 pounds. Yeah, so paint moved the CG back a whole inch, which when you only have 4 inches to play with, that's a lot. So my issue is, with a big passenger, full baggage, I will burn myself out into aft CG after like 2.5 hours. So it's been fine, but that's a limiting factor. And of course I push it right to aft CG. It is sketchy. The airplane flies very differently. It's really pitchy and the tail is kind of squirrely and it's not the best feeling in a tail dragger. So if I can move the CG forward even half an inch with this new prop, I think that'll be a pretty big difference. I've also added the air oil separator, changed out the backup alternator to the Monkworks, which is awesome.
Charlie Foxtrot, Charlie Golf Alpha across IMO at about 3,000, clip the RNF-26 approach at Piqua.
Okay, across IMO at or above 3,000, clear for the RNF-26 Piqua, Foxtrot, Charlie Golf Alpha. Alright, I'm going to keep monitoring that, but I'm back to transmitting with him. Alright, I'm going to be sterile for the rest of this, and we're talking about the prop. This is working out nice, though. Sun is not blinding me as much.
So I managed to put just over 10 hours on that prop before repositioning the airplane to Andre's base for this inspection.
It's icy and cold.
This little snippet is from the post-inspection run-up, but I didn't capture a lot of B-roll from the inspection actually getting started.
This is like totally icy.
So I just wanted to use this to explain that I'll be mostly addressing the airframe as opposed to the engine in this episode.
How am I doing a run up here?
Please leave a comment with anything you'd like to see expanded on. I'm going to be doing another episode where I go to Lycoming, and I'll fit in any answers that I can into that one.
Okay, we're waiting on oil temp. Just found a dry, not icy spot on the ramp for my post-inspection run up.
Okay, so let's go back in time a couple days and get into it. So this is day 3-ish of the 500 hours and 5-year inspection. So I'm doing an annual essentially, although my annual was only 6 months or less than 6 months ago actually, but I already flew more than 100 hours since that inspection, and I knew I was coming up on 500 here. So, and I've been flying 3 seasons worth of competitive aerobatics, so there's lots of reasons why I'm going ahead with this inspection, and we're going to be more thorough than a typical annual inspection would necessarily be, which is an interesting conversation because why not just do a super thorough inspection every time? So we'll talk a little bit about what we're doing differently here and what we're looking for.
Basically, your main concern was a little in-depth dive onto the airframe side to look at any, negative effects from you starting to do competitive aerobatics with the airframe. So basically, one of the items we did as a more in-depth inspection of the airframe, we scoped some of the areas in the fuselage and the tail and the wings. So basically, we access the internal components of the aircraft either through lightning holes, like you see there. With some of these borescopes, they're good because they're articulating heads, so you can actually have a good look around. Let me see if I can just get in there. Actually, right now here you can see a good shot of the forward spar attachment of the horizontal stabilizer, and you can see actually in what good condition it is. Nice, clean, no corrosion. There's no signs of movement or anything like that. Takes a little bit of manipulation, especially the deeper you go. Now we're at one of the ribs inside, so we can look at where the rib joins the spar. We can look for a movement or anything like that in there. You can see the rivets. Normally, if you start seeing black around the edges of the rivet, that's indicating a movement.
That's what you call a smoking rivet?
Yeah, it's basically a smoking rivet.
And then we're also looking for potential cracking or anything. Like, what would you, if you saw something, what would indicate a thing that would want to look further, like with NDT? Like, when would you get to a point when you...
If really what you're looking for is a smoking rivet, a lot of smoking rivets, or buckling, deformation of the skin or the structure, that's when you'd probably want to start looking further into those areas. But if you're not seeing any of that kind of stuff,
so bottom line, like, you're not diagnosing a situation where you even consider the need for any like NDT or further testing.
Yeah, exactly. There's no reason for us to suspect anything that's wrong in here. All the skins are smooth. There's no deformation in the light that would indicate buckling of the skin. Everything is basically almost brand new.
Awesome. Yeah. And you did the same thing for the vertical stab, the horizontal stab?
Yeah, all the wings, the vertical stab, horizontal stab, even the rudder where we could get inside it to have a peek with the borescope. We did all that, especially around the hinges and any areas that carry or transfer load.
Perfect. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Yeah, that's awesome. That'll answer those questions.
Still like brand new.
I still think of it as brand new, but it's like, damn, it's been 5 years and 500 hours.
Yeah, some like even certified airplanes, Cessnas and stuff, 500 hours. Sometimes that takes a long time to get to there.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I've been flying it a lot, and it does get hangered pretty much all the time. So what are you seeing?
So what you can see is that due to the flexing, the paint started flaking there, and you can actually see a little bit of movement around the aft attach point, which is not uncommon in aerobatic airplanes. This is why you have to keep an eye on things and especially on the main attach points. Well, this is a attach for the rear spar. There's that little, like a black line between the paint.
Yeah.
Between the two plates there.
Perfect. All right, and then I guess let's talk about torquing. I got my tiny little torque wrench, which I think is a good size to use for this.
You see the socket didn't move.
Yeah. Yeah, so it clicked.
Yeah.
That's it. So nothing moved, and is what we're saying. So, and you guys put a torque wrench on all these already?
Yeah.
These are my notes reviewing the torque tables and the specific fasteners that I wanted to look at. The only ones that moved were the lowest ones in the tail there, which we got about 1/4 to 1/3 of a turn on before the torque wrench clicked.
All right. Okay, and I got to shout out Classic Aero Designs. Lots of people have climbed in and out of this airplane and been sweating in this thing. It's been out parked in the sun for different events. It's been rained on a couple times when we've had the canopy open, getting in and out during storms. It's still like pretty much new, so couldn't be happier with an interior than I am with this.
Without a doubt, this was my first choice, so I'm very happy with it. They're a small company, so they don't have much of a marketing budget, so I did purchase it. I got a small discount, but was not paid to say anything about it.
It's definitely a little finicky to get these pins in, but I've done this enough times.
But that's an unavoidable part of the van's aircraft design. It makes for very safe seats that won't move, but they're ground adjustable only.
All right, interior is back in.
So after the overall inspection, we did not see basically anything that would indicate that there's any undue stress or anything negative from doing competitive aerobatics with this airframe. Actually, I'm pretty impressed with the design of the van's aircraft for that application. There was nothing that we found that would indicate the aircraft suffering from what you're putting it through.
Yeah, that's cool. That was a relief. And to be clear, Andre was entirely objective. I paid full rate for his services because Jan Aero is super busy. And while I was there, my friend Ryan dropped off his Sukhoi 26 for a pre-buy inspection as he sold it. Leading into this inspection, I reached out to the community and got responses ranging from some thinking competition flying in an RV-14 was no different than gentlemen's aerobatics. I don't want to be contrary, but to score well, set lines while managing energy, and keep the whole sequence inside of a 1 kilometer box, you absolutely need to fly harder than the numbers in this comment suggest. This is how I fly with passengers for fun, and there's no way I'd subject someone to a competition flight. It just would not be enjoyable. That said, this mechanic had the entirely opposite opinion.
The airplane is in good shape, I think. So ground run and then test flight tomorrow, and then back in business. No snags other than like what I knew, which was the tail wheel required a bit of modification to fix the fasteners to get rid of some play that was happening back there. But yeah, so I'm feeling good heading into the 4th season of competing. We didn't go too deep into the engine. I am going to be going to Lycoming, and we're going to do a more deep dive into the engine and talk about what amateur built and certified pilots can do or think about. We have a lot more flexibility as amateur built or experimental in terms of inspecting and modifying and working on.
So here's one of the little jobs we did was, this is very difficult to get at. It's located in the center console, but I don't need it because I've got these gaskelators in the wing root. So those are really nice filters. So really this is not necessary in my setup. So we bypassed that, and I got these really nice lines from Aircraft Specialty. Steve and the team have kits that are all pre-measured and easy to swap out. So Andre did a good job kind of cleaning up in here and making this accessible. So that filter had been here behind the pump on the valve side. So if the pump was to grenade, it's not even like that filter would have caught the parts. So this filter wasn't really doing anything. It was a very difficult spot to inspect. So that's gone. We got these nice lines here and another one here going to the firewall.
One thing I'm not super comfortable with is cleaning and maintaining injectors. So I'm going to talk to Lycoming about that and look at the fuel servo maybe in more detail than I ever have. I don't know, we'll see what else they have to say about it and talk about their ignition system. The Lycoming EIS, electronic ignition system, which I have on one side, and then the other side is a PMAG or EMAG, which does require a certain degree of maintenance. I've gotten fairly familiar with that because I've had it off a couple times for inspecting and retiming, but I haven't touched the Lycoming ignition after 500 hours. It's solid, and we're gonna find out in a second. Okay, so we're at 120 degrees on the oil, so I'm gonna get to the run up. Oil brakes are good, mixture's going rich. Oil temperature minimum 120, check.
And shout out to 4Flight, which is a longtime supporter of the channel. Checklists are one of my favorite features. I'm gonna build one from scratch with my other aerobatic friend Ryan in a second, but first let's do the Monkworks backup alternator test.
Okay, so we are set up. Cruise check is complete. Of course, they're talking over us now.
Radio 952 Golf, Kansas City Center, hello.
In full disclosure, Monkworks gave me the alternator, but they're not paying for me to say anything about it, so this is authentic. I really do think it's awesome, and it is super small, and in my case, being light actually isn't a good thing, but most people do want to lose weight on the airplane.
All right, so let's simulate an alternator failure.
We were drawing 24 amps, but I decided to shed some of that load.
That should not be a problem for the backup alternator. Maybe I can shed a little bit just so that it's not like...
Kansas City Center, November 7th, 6th, November.
Wow, the wigwags take a fair bit. That's kind of impressive.
500 to 7,000.
All right, so there we go, 17. Wigwags are off. Failing the alternator, the main alternator coming offline. And then we'll bring online the backup. Takes a second, and there it is.
Signal aircraft information, Oscar down, Cornet, Portland away.
Hittable. So right back to what we were drawing. That thing will go all day long, like there's no limit on using it. That is Monkworks, and very impressed with it. If anything, the problem for me was that it's too light.
110 with the Alpha, Kansas Center, right to have high pressure, Charlie, stand by.
Cool, so let's fly with that for a bit. And just remember to go back to the other one.
And how is this one mounted?
It's on the vacuum pad on the back of the engine, so direct gear driven. So something that I've been meaning to do for a long time is make an actual aerobatic checklist.
We got stepped on a bunch by ATC initially. I haven't made a list from scratch before, and Ryan, who had never made a 4Flight list ever, was curious to see if he could get it started while I handled the radio work.
Charlie, Foxtrot, Charlie Golf Alpha, contact Frankfurt approach 124.905.
124.905, Charlie Golf Alpha. Approach, it's Foxtrot, Charlie Golf Alpha, level 8500.
Okay, I got it.
Charlie Fox, Golf.
Nope.
Correction, Charlie Golf Alpha, Frankfurt approach, altimeter 3000.
3000, Foxtrot, Charlie Golf Alpha, thanks.
Okay, I got it. So you should be able to edit up there now and then maybe add a checklist item.
New detail item or check item?
Check item, I believe.
So this challenge, I'm going to start with fun switch, but I guess I'll call it what it really is, which is ESP inhibit.
Sure.
ESP.
November 3, Alpha Bravo, turn left heading 120 for departure off Brent.
Done. And response is on. Done. Save and create next item.
Delta Echo Frankfurt approach, altimeter 3000.
Alright, so next one would be engine status, I guess, or like this is where I want to say rich, RPM. Maybe they could be their own separate things, eh?
Yeah.
I'll say mixture,
rich, prop, wherever you like to set it.
What do you guys set it in the French airplane?
In the integral, it kind of depends on where we're doing it, mostly for noise reasons, but we'll keep it at 2700.
Oh, 27, so like full fine almost?
Yeah, full forward.
The whole time. Should I be doing that? Like, I don't know.
No, you don't have to.
So maybe I should do 2550. I'll just get more performance, right?
Yeah.
Alright, because I've been doing 25. It's usually between 25 and 2550, so.
Yeah. It really won't hurt anything keeping it under high RPM. Maybe other than it'll run slightly hotter if you're doing a lot of low speed maneuvers.
Well, there was something you said earlier that was a good idea and I forgot what it was.
Lights off.
Lights off, yeah. Lights off. Save and create. Belts, I guess, eh?
Yeah, belts. And what may help you too, it might be a little hard with this because there's no ratchet, but I'll oftentimes try to tighten my belts as I'm pulling some G.
Right, so you're down.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good idea. Oh, there's a way to make, is it notes? Tap enter notes, oh, that's awesome. Pull G while tightening.
November 569 Delta Mike.
Any other ideas?
Departure ident.
Let's see, so I'm trying to run through
Card, I guess. Card in place.
Yeah, card in place.
Did
you just put it on the RAM mount there?
15000.
Yeah, it sits right on top of the iPad, so that's nice. I think that's kind of everything.
Yeah, pretty much it. So, mixture, prop.
That is 6000, 641.
You don't really have to do much with the fuel other than make sure you have enough.
Maybe that's a good one to check though, like client, you know. I mean, I would have done that before I took off, but
yeah,
one more time.
And you can't really do any kind of inverted check, huh? No.
I can't.
No, we'll skip that, but yeah.
The airframe can actually go up to negative 3 Gs, but my limitation is the lack of ratchet straps holding me tightly in my seat is the main problem.
Yeah, it's there now.
2.2 climbing 3000.
And
Awesome, that's easy.
ready contact and running
ESP,
140.
mixture prop, lights, belts, card, and fuel. So,
November 3 Alpha Bravo, turn running 140.
And then, one thing, maybe what I would do too is
3 Alpha Bravo, clear bridge approach,
maybe for your last one, just say like proper setup and entry. Like put your base where you want it going into the box.
And put that in the checklist?
I might as well.
Yeah.
Because that's sometimes like, at least with me, like I might rush through it and set myself up in a bad spot, which will ruin my entire sequence. But
it will,
if I
yeah.
have it written down somewhere to like take my time and put my base or dive in at the correct spot, that could make a pretty big difference in your flight, I think.
So what would you say, base?
Entry.
Entry, yeah.
Proper entry.
Cinnamon 323 Frankfurt departure.
Entry, and I think response is think.
Yeah.
Right?
Use your head.
Done.
Awesome. Yeah, it's not necessarily a checklist item, but like...
No, I think you're right. I like it.
I that in there.
Yeah, so entry is there. Think.
Awesome. I like it.
A radar,
Sweet.
and then we're looking for the...
And after using that checklist in the real world a little bit, it evolved slightly. I added the item to check my trim, which is important because I need a little bit of nose down pressure for aerobatics.
Very cool.
18 Whiskey, Springfield approach.
Right on. All right, and the volt light has been on this whole time because that, with this alternator offline, that's what it's going to do.
H1.
But anyway, I'm happy with that test.
Yeah.
Everything's stable. So I don't know that it's bad to have them both on, but my SOP is not to do that. So I take this one offline.
9 o'clock, 4 miles.
And then I'm going back to the main alternator. That light goes off, voltage comes up. Now, it may not go high because the Aerotex didn't get discharged. Yeah. So the backup alternator did its job, and this is happy. There was just no spike. Back to normal. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. That's a good backup system. I will turn wigwags back on just because why not, for safety.
Beautiful.
Thanks for watching if you made it to the end, and keep your flight chops sharp.